There exists a place on this planet where the modern world simply ceases to be. Not little by little, not the way your phone's signal fades near a national park's edge, or pavement turns to dirt on some backcountry road. It stops all at once. Totally. As if someone took a pen, drew a line across the ocean, and declared, everything past this point belongs to another age. The island is real. You can find it on any map. It has coordinates you can plug into Google Earth, a shape your finger can trace. It lies in the Bay of Bengal, part of the Andaman Archipelago, technically inside the territory of the Republic of India. It has a name, North Sentinel Island, and no human being has ever set foot there, not in any real sense, not the way we've been everywhere else. Every mountain peak, every ocean trench, every frozen pole, every square mile of desert, jungle, and tundra has been mapped, sampled, measured, cataloged, claimed. Except this one. This one remains, in the most literal way imaginable, untouched. And the reason isn't geography, weather, or terrain. It's the people who live there. People who have made it violently, plainly, and consistently clear, across every recorded attempt at contact, that the modern world is not welcome, and as far as anyone can tell, they've been making that clear for roughly 60,000 years. Let that number sink in, 60,000 years, not 600, not 6,000, 60,000. The Sentinelese, as outsiders call them, though we have no idea what they call themselves, are believed to be among the most isolated human populations on Earth. Genetic and anthropological estimates suggest they've occupied North Sentinel Island since the first migration out of Africa, since the earliest waves of human expansion across the globe. They arrived on that island before farming, before writing, before pottery, before the wheel, before every civilization that has risen and fallen in the 60 millennia since. They were there before the last ice age. They were there when sea levels rose and turned their peninsula into an island. They have lived there continuously, longer than any known civilization, any known culture, any known human institution has lasted, and they want nothing to do with us. That raises a simple but critical question, one that sounds easy but grows more unsettling the longer you sit with it. Why? The official answer is isolation. The Sentinel have been cut off from the rest of humanity for so long they have no way to understand the outside world. They meet contact attempts with hostility because they see outsiders as threats, which, given what contact has done to isolated populations everywhere else on Earth, isn't unreasonable. That explanation is tidy, logical. It frames the Sentinel as a relic, a living fossil, a snapshot of prehistoric humanity preserved by accident of geography. But the deeper I dug, the more that explanation felt insufficient. Not exactly wrong, but incomplete, in a way that says more about us than about them. Start with what we actually know, because what we actually know about the Sentinel is almost nothing. And that almost nothing is itself extraordinary. Their population is estimated between 50 and 300 people. We don't know the real number because no census has ever been done. The island is about 60 square kilometers, roughly the size of Manhattan. It's surrounded by coral reefs that make any ship approach treacherous. The island is covered in dense tropical forest. Aerial surveys have spotted structures, lean-to shelters, small clearings, paths through the trees. Fires have been seen. Canoes have been spotted on the beaches. The Sentinel are not cave dwellers or wandering foragers, as popular imagination sometimes paints uncontacted peoples. They have tools, weapons, shelters, boats. By every indication, they have a functioning society. But we don't know their language. We don't know their stories. We don't know their names for themselves, their island, or the sea around them. We don't know their social structure, their spiritual practices, their view of the stars, their relationship to the animals and plants of their island, their songs, their histories, their grief, their joy. We know nothing, and we know nothing not because the information was lost, or destroyed, or suppressed, but because it was never gained. The Sentinel have kept the outside world from acquiring a single meaningful piece of cultural information about them for all of recorded history. The silence was deafening. Not theirs, ours. Because here's what the history of contact attempts actually shows. It's not a story of noble savages left in peace by a respectful world. It's a story of repeated intrusion met with repeated refusal. And that refusal has been total. The British colonial administration, which governed the Andaman Islands from the mid-1800s, made many attempts to contact the Sentinel. The pattern was always the same. Ships would approach. Landing parties would try to come ashore. The Sentinel would answer with arrows, not warning shots, not uncertain gestures. Arrows aimed to kill, fired from the tree line with a precision and consistency that sent a message no interpreter was needed to translate, "Go away. Do not come here. This is not yours." In 1880, a British naval officer named Maurice Vidal Portman landed on North Sentinel Island with a large armed group. They met no resistance at first because the Sentinel had retreated into the forest. Portman's party searched the island and eventually captured 6 Sentinel people, an elderly couple and 4 children. They were taken to Port Blair, the colonial capital. The elderly couple fell ill almost immediately and died. The children were returned to the island with gifts. The colonial administration recorded this as a scientific expedition. They did not record it as a kidnapping that left 2 people dead. But that's exactly what it was. And if the Sentinel keep any form of oral history, any cultural memory passed across generations, what do you think that event became in their telling? What would the abduction and death of elders at the hands of outsiders become in a society that had already been refusing contact for millennia? The pattern repeats with unsettling precision across the next century. The Indian government, which took over the Andaman Islands after independence in 1947, kept up contact attempts through the 1960s, 70s, and 80s. Anthropologists organized dropping expeditions, approaching by boat, leaving coconuts, metal tools, and plastic buckets on the beach, then retreating. Sometimes the Sentinel took the gifts. Sometimes they shot arrows at the boats. Sometimes they made gestures that anthropologists read as threatening. Sometimes they made gestures no one could interpret at all. And here's the detail that fascinated me: on the rare occasions when the Sentinel did accept gifts, they never reciprocated in any way that suggested interest in ongoing exchange. They took what was useful and held their boundary. They didn't approach the boats. They didn't try to communicate. Across decades of contact attempts, they showed with remarkable consistency that they understood what was being offered, and were not interested in the relationship it implied. They wanted the coconuts. They did not want us. The deeper I went, the more I saw that the Western interpretation of this rejection reveals our assumptions more than their intentions. We call them uncontacted, as if contact is the natural state and its absence is the oddity. We call them isolated, as if isolation is something that happens to you rather than something you choose. We call them primitive, or if we're being careful, pre-agricultural, or Stone Age, as if their technology defines their humanity. We frame their existence as a deficit, a lack of development, a failure to progress, as if 60,000 years of living successfully on one island, 60,000 years of sustaining a population, a culture, a society, a continuous human presence longer than any civilization in human history, counts as failure because it didn't produce a smartphone, as if they were the ones who got it wrong. In 2006, two fishermen whose boat drifted too close to North Sentinel Island were killed by the Sentinel. In 2018, John Allen Chow, an American missionary, illegally traveled to North Sentinel Island, intending to convert the Sentinel to Christianity. He was killed on the beach. His body was never recovered. The Indian government didn't try to recover it. They couldn't. Not without risking further contact and further violence. The island kept him. The reaction to Chow's death was revealing. Much of the Western commentary focused on whether the Sentinel had the right to kill him, whether their isolation justified lethal force, whether the Indian government should intervene, punish, assert its sovereignty over citizens within its territory who had committed what was, under Indian and international law, a homicide. That debate was framed as a legal and ethical question about the limits of indigenous autonomy. But the deeper question, the one almost nobody asked, was different. Not whether the Sentinel had the right to kill an intruder, but why we assume we have the right to intrude. Why? The default assumption of modern civilization is that every place on Earth is accessible, that every people are available for contact, that every culture is subject to our curiosity, our study, our missions, our gifts, our diseases, our God. The Sentinel have been saying no for 60,000 years. They've said it with arrows, spears, and fire. And the consistency is absolute. They have never once, in the entire recorded history of their interaction with the outside world, indicated that they want what we're offering. And yet we keep coming back. We keep sending boats. We keep dropping coconuts. We keep studying them through binoculars from offshore. We keep writing about them, making documentaries, speculating about their language, their customs, their genetic lineage. We keep circling their island, like something that can't accept a closed door. The official explanation collapses here because the standard framework for understanding uncontacted peoples treats them as a conservation problem, a fragile population to be protected from contamination, an endangered species of human, preserved not for their own sake, but for what they represent to us, a window into the human past, a living laboratory of premodern life, a specimen. The Indian government's policy of non-contact, established after years of failed attempts, is framed as protection, and it is protection, genuinely. Contact would almost certainly be catastrophic for the Sentinel. They have no immunity to common diseases. A single flu virus carried by a single visitor could devastate them. But protection and respect are not the same thing. Protection is what you give to something you have power over. Respect is what you give to something you recognize as equal. And the global conversation about the Sentinel is soaked in protection and almost entirely empty of respect. We protect them the way we protect a nature reserve. We don't respect them the way we'd respect a nation that told us to stay out. The pattern repeats with unsettling precision across every encounter between the modern world and the peoples who exist outside it. Because the Sentinel are not the only uncontacted people on Earth. There are estimated to be over 100 uncontacted groups worldwide, mostly in the Amazon basin and the forests of New Guinea. Each lives in deliberate separation from the global civilization around them. Each has made choices across generations to maintain that separation. And each is discussed by the contacted world in the language of conservation, not sovereignty. I'm not telling you we should contact the Sentinel. I'm not telling you we should leave them alone. I'm asking something more fundamental. I'm asking what it means that a people can say no for 60,000 years, and the world still treats that no as a problem to be managed, rather than a decision to be honored. I'm asking what the Sentinel know that we don't. Not about technology, not about medicine, Not about any of the metrics we use to measure civilizational achievement. What do they know about the value of a boundary? About the cost of contact? About what is lost when a society opens its doors to a larger world that runs on fundamentally different assumptions about what human life is for? I'm asking why 60,000 years of continuous, successful, self-sustaining human civilization on a single island doesn't register in the modern imagination as an achievement. Why it registers instead as a curiosity, a relic, something to be studied, rather than something to be learned from. I'm asking what it means that the most isolated people on Earth have outlasted every empire, every religion, every institution, every nation that has ever tried to contact them. That the civilization with the least technology has the longest track record of success. That the people who want nothing from us have outlasted everyone who wanted everything from everyone, handed a definition of progress and told it was the only one. What else have we been handed and never thought to question?